Hi and welcome back to Order Flow Mastery. This is Order Flow Tools 106 Cumulative Volume Delta, a very powerful indicator that takes something similar to what we've seen in the previous indicator with the order flow values and basically plots it on a chart, which is even easier to understand and gives us a different perspective around delta and around market pressure. So we take the same chart and we add this on top, which is the cumulative volume delta. You can find here in indicators, cumulative volume delta, candlesticks. So let's take this as an example and let's start from the beginning of the session because that's where the cumulative volume delta starts happening, let's say. So let me make it wider for you. Yep. So as you will see, every day the cumulative volume delta will start from level 0, right? Level 0. And by plotting candlestick, it will show you how delta varies throughout a candle. And for example, if we have a delta of 51, the candle will go up around 51. If the delta of the following candle is -9, well, this will go -9. If there's a -126, the candle will be big and go -126, +71, +71. So the only difference between this one and this one is cumulative. So it takes into consideration the total delta of the entire session and shows you how the delta varies throughout the session. And you can quickly compare it with price action and make some interesting consideration and building a narrative around what price is doing compared to what the pressure of aggressors is doing. Okay? So, for example, in a situation like this one, you could notice, for example, that during this situation where you had one swing low, swing slightly lower, and then high, what did you have from the volume delta? Well, let's see. You had the delta and the pressure going down, and then not plotting another low. So whenever you see that in this leg, price went down, and in this leg, price went down, but the delta didn't, it clearly shows us that there was more effort on this leg that caused price to drop. There was not as much effort on this one. Big effort, big result. Not a lot of effort, but still some result. So this thing tells us that in this leg of price, there was less aggression, less interest, less participation. In fact, that's what a lot of order flow traders calls this, a lack of participation pattern. So whenever you see price doing this, plotting a low, and the volume delta not plotting a low, so there's a divergence of this type, we call this a lack of participation. Because during the second leg of price, the aggressive sellers that caused the movement are not that present. Typically. Now let's make some sort of opposite example where you see that this leg went down in price. You had a leg down in delta. Price went back up. And then another leg down. And here you had this and this. So you have an opposite example where during this leg, a lot of effort brought a lower low result. And here, a lot of effort did not bring a lot of results. That's an interesting data point because it can tell us that, for example, there's divergence of this low compared to this lower low. And if you take the same ones in the CVD, you'll see this. And that typically happens during absorptions. Because this effort did not bring to a result in price, while this effort did. This leg created a leg that went lower. This leg went lower, but not in price. Big effort, less result. So we typically call this pattern absorption. So if this is a lack of participation in the movement, this is a lot of effort in this movement, but very low results, so absorption. So this is what we call an absorption in the CVD. These are the two main patterns. You know, this is the classical bread and butter of CVD, okay? But you want to look at this in the very short time frame typically. You don't want to look at it on a session perspective because it can be misleading at times. You'll see for entire sessions, the delta going up and price going down. That's completely normal. Look at this one. That just means that in this price swing, buyers were more aggressive, were more on the aggressive side, and sellers were more present in the book on the passive side. So they were more absorbed throughout this whole thing down. This could be a whole absorption, right? But we don't need this. It's not useful to assess long-term price movements. It's really useful for short-term divergences. So a lot of scalpers will use this type of divergence. I personally prefer to use this in combination with the footprint, because in the footprint I can not only spot absorptions very easily, but I can see where they are and what happened right after. So this is a cool summary, yes, but I wouldn't say it's 1000% necessary, okay? But it's a very valuable indicator that you can use, absolutely. So this was the CVD, and in the live sessions you will also see, let's say, more practical examples. But this is all you need to know about one of the main order flow tools.